All right, I think we're good.
You got YouTube?
Oh,
okay, yep.
okay. Here we go. I don't know what sound we have.
We got the
Raheem.
bracket, we got Raheem, we got
All right.
Vibe, we got
Cool.
Celebration Bowl.
Shreddy?
Yep.
Welcome into your Sports Tonight. Bailey Burmaster alongside Aaron Ladd for your Monday edition of Sports Tonight. And
Let's do
we have a ton to recap.
December 9th. This year is flying by. This month is flying by.
I don't know where football season
flying by.
I really don't know where football season went.
This is what you play for right here.
This is the fun time of year. I do love bowl season. I do love December. All leading up to January 20th, the national championship here in Atlanta. But let's recap the SEC championship. Georgia gets the dub 22-19. They don't get out of it without a few injuries, which we will get to. But let's stick to the game right now, Aaron. Biggest takeaways from those games?
First overtime game in the 33 history of the SEC title game. Of course, I'm the overtime fairy right now, Bailey, if you didn't know that.
You
I
are.
was in Athens for Georgia Tech. That's 8 overtimes. That was most of the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Then LeBron facing off against the Hawks. That was overtime. And then this first overtime game in the SEC title game. Look, another slow start for Georgia, and this doesn't have really anything to do with the injuries. They're out there fully healthy, preparing for a Texas team that they had already played before, and still seemed like they couldn't start until the second quarter, really?
It was the first time in the SEC championship game that there were no touchdowns in the first half. And it's funny because slow starts plagued this team a little early on, and then it kind of just reared its ugly head in this game.
And I looked at you. We sat next to each other in press box for this game. I looked at you and I wondered how much of this was game planning. These two teams had already played. These two teams could play again down the road for a national title, even though the committee kind of seated them on opposite sides. So I wondered how much of it was just them trying to feel each other out, not wanting to give away a full game plan.
Usually that's the case in like the first quarter, I feel like, and then things pick up. But it really just went into halftime. But, you know, I think the two things that were the biggest difference maker in this game that we had talked about on Friday was one, Trevor Etienne.
Absolutely.
Was he going to play or not? He had 3 touchdowns the first time they played. And then now this time he walks it off. So having him back was huge. Even head coach Kirby Smart said he should have been the MVP for how he rallied back to play from injury. Said he came to Georgia to play in these games and he wanted to play. So that was huge. And then the second thing that stood out was the defense. The defense got it done the first time. They held them to 29 rushing yards. This time it was only 31 rushing yards. They also had 6 sacks, 15 tackles for a loss, and 2 turnovers. Is that right?
Okay, stats.
I think that's right.
We see you numbers.
I'm trying to remember. I'm really bad with numbers, so like
I will say I saw a stat also that Woodring and ETN have scored all of the points for Georgia in the 2 wins against Texas this year, which just shows you the depth. And it also shows you, to your point, and I know that your frustrations continued in this one.
Should I talk about those frustrations? Are you going to give me the opportunity?
It shows you the depth. I won't step on your point. It just shows you the depth on what Georgia can do. And even going forward in their next game with the uncertainty around some of the injuries, they are a well-rounded team, Bailey. They can score and win in a lot of different ways, and it's frustrating when you're playing against Georgia where you feel like you have them beat or they're not playing their best game. They still find ways to win these big games. We'll see if that can continue.
I think Kirby Smart doesn't say it lightly, and maybe we're like, oh, yeah, that's a kind of cliche of like this is the most mentally tough team he's ever coached. I think that's true. They've found themselves in really gritty positions and somehow win. You know, not to compare one to the other, but, I mean, look at the Falcons. In those close games, they're a team that usually loses them.
I was going to compare them to the Chiefs. It seems like the Chiefs every Sunday just find a way to win games, and bad teams find a way to lose games. Georgia has continued through the drops, to your point, to continue. Well, I was trying to lob it up to you.
Okay,
That was like
all right, I'm ready. I'm
catching
an alley-oop.
Can
I just go, or I'll let you finish?
Even when Georgia doesn't play their best game, they still find a way to win it.
Boom. Okay, so let's talk about the massive issues. Besides injuries on this team, which I promise we are going to dive into, so just give us a second. The drops are still something I will yell about. Ask Aaron. We are in the press box, and Carson Beck lobs a deep one to Arian Smith, and it was on a 3rd down.
This was in
And
the first quarter, I believe.
you really needed to have it to get some momentum because they had no steam, and he drops it. And I think they had 3 drops going into the game. They had 36 drops, and now they have 39. The receivers, I don't know why they are struggling to catch the ball. I don't know why it's an issue. But I think it's the question everyone has now is, was it Carson Beck last year, or was it Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey making Beck look better than he even is?
I saw some memes going around
About the
after
About the drops?
after Gunnar Stockton came in and Arian Smith makes
We need
some
to talk about this. We need to talk about this. Okay, so everyone, I grew up in Georgia. I have a lot of friends that went to Georgia.
Yes, same.
I would say 80% of the people I talk to that are Georgia fans want Gunnar Stockton. I am not of that sentiment. I think if you can choose between Beck and Gunnar Stockton at this point in the season, I'm choosing Beck.
Do we want to jump right into injuries now, since we're talking quarterback stuff?
Do you care about quarterback? Okay, I'll give the update on.
Yeah, please
we'll go
do.
there. Okay,
let's do that, because I do have a Gunnar Stockton take that you may not like, and we will be on opposite sides of that
Are
one.
we gonna be beefing? Okay, so Georgia released a statement earlier that Georgia quarterback Carson Beck is dealing with an elbow injury. Everything's really coy still. We're not really getting into it, but said that there's no timetable for his return, and him and his family are looking into
that's such a nasty
second
phrase.
opinion to see what's going on. So we do not know how long he's going to be out. We don't know the severity of it. What I think, and this is solely based off what I saw in person on Saturday, he was in a lot of pain, excruciating pain. He was favoring his arm, even walking off, not with no contact, not doing a whole lot. He looked really somber. Head coach Kirby Smart even said in the Zoom on Monday that he was super somber. It doesn't seem good. If I had to guess an educated opinion off what I saw, I don't think he comes back this season, which means you might have to play Gunnar Stockton. I'll let you get there in a second.
Yeah.
Let's get to Brett Thorson. Brett Thorson is out. He has to have season-ending surgery on his non-kicking leg and a knee injury he sustained on Saturday. So they'll be without a punter that's 7th in the nation. He's really solid for Georgia. Yeah, you're probably going, okay, it's a punter, but that's
important to field position. Special teams matters, especially in these games when every team you're playing is good. The field position matters, and I want to offer a couple of notes on the injuries before we start debating quarterback stuff. Plant leg is important when you're talking about a punter. That's where a lot of the power comes from. Hopefully, beyond this, he can get back and return to full strength for the Dawgs. For Carson Beck, UCL is what I think some of the speculation is now. We're talking just specifically speculation. I know Kirby Smart said he was having some trouble gripping the football on Saturday because he still had to come in, Bailey, and give that handoff.
Which I don't think people caught this.
Yeah, that was some storyline stuff.
So people, first of all, didn't realize it was Carson Beck. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, he's coming back in to hand it off.
Disney movie. He's running back in.
Zac Efron.
Yes.
No, but he comes back in, he hands it off, but people didn't watch Carson Beck after he handed it off. A few of his teammates came over to pile on him because a big storyline that would have been coming into this one is Carson Beck specifically said he came back because of that taste after losing the SEC championship game last year, and he had unfinished business, and that's why he wanted to come back. Then he leaves the game because of injury. He hands it off, and when they came to pile on him, you could visibly see him going like this in pain, and everyone was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then it got to a point where he was on his knees trying to be like, no one touch me because I'm in a lot of pain, which is kind of crazy that he came in to hand it off anyway. But, whatever.
I don't think Gunnar Stockton is bad news or spells bad news. If he has to come in and play in the Sugar Bowl or beyond, we saw him in limited action in Tennessee Tech game and some of the other games before this SEC title game, and he offers a different look with his legs. I talked to even some Texas defenders after the SEC championship. Sure, they didn't have time to prepare going into it, knowing and any team that would face Georgia in the Sugar Bowl would have knowledge a little bit more ahead of time that they would be preparing for a mobile quarterback. But given Georgia's defense, Bailey, and what Gunnar Stockton can do with his legs, paired with Georgia's coaching staff knowing going into the game they're going to have to shift some things around, I don't think that I'm not changing my mindset totally as in Georgia not being able to win the national championship. I still think he offers them a chance to be competitive in the games.
And I do want to be clear. I don't think you're going to lose and it's doomsday if Gunnar Stockton's your quarterback.
Sure.
I just think if you get to choose, I'd rather have Carson Beck for a couple reasons. I do think Gunnar can be dangerous with his legs, but I fear that you become super one-dimensional. Because if he can't throw the ball, which, by the way, your receivers can't catch a Carson Beck ball, if they haven't been working with Gunnar Stockton, how the heck are they going to catch a Stockton ball when they haven't been working with him at all? That's really where my concern is. He did give this team juice. To be fair, though, almost anything would have given this team juice because there was not a whole lot working for the team going into half. Fair.
I think there's also precedent for this as well. We're not that far removed from Cardale Jones and the Linsanity run that he went on in the same different style playoff, 4-team versus 12-team. But there was just such a quick reaction online, and I know that the internet isn't real life, but there was such a quick reaction to, Florida State had this happen, and now we should look at Georgia through this lens. I think the situation that this happened, and now Georgia has the bye week to prepare. It was 24 days yesterday, 23 days now before the Sugar Bowl. There is so much ball left to play that coaches now have an opportunity to really reshape the offense. That was struggling. The offense was struggling now. You have an opportunity to now, even if you were considering a quarterback change and didn't want to do that to your senior, the guy who came back to play in this game, now you have an opportunity to say, this is a fresher breath of air into an offense that was kind of struggling to contribute at some point.
Here's what I want to say. You don't win Ole Miss with Gunnar Stockton. You don't win games. You don't win the Alabama game if Gunnar Stockton's playing.
We got to look forward, though, now.
No, do you get what I'm saying? No.
Why
I'm bringing this up is
you, Carson, for your work, yes.
This is what I'm saying. There are people who have been calling for Gunnar Stockton since Jacksonville. Wild. If you think Gunnar Stockton is really going to be that big of a difference maker, he would have been starting already. Keep in mind, Gunnar Stockton was behind Brock Vandagriff. So how good can he really be? Because I do think Kirby's a man of just like, he's the guy that's going to get it done. In the words of Raheem Morris, Carson Beck got you this far. They're going to ride with him. But if he's injured and can't go, it is the Stockton show. And I hope he shows out. I hope he proves, maybe he's giving Beck a run for his money. But also, to be fair, Beck had the harder schedule in the regular season than what they're going to face in the playoff, personally, is what I think.
It is a nice little path that they have.
Let's look at it because, for the gods that did not do them any favors in the college football regular season, I guess I should add the SEC and Greg Sankey for that. They did get the easiest path to the national championship back here.
Look at you sleeping on Connor Hines' Indiana Hoosiers.
I mean, respectfully, I think I could play for the Indiana Hoosiers with the schedule they have.
Clip that. Connor, we're clipping that one.
Yeah, Connor's going to come for me. No, but okay, here's the bracket. You guys can see it here. Any initial thoughts, sir?
I mean, yeah, on paper, Georgia's got the nice path. I also like, if I'm Georgia, I don't even have to fool with the home game nonsense and whatever that could be in this first year. Because I think a lot of people are just looking at this on paper and assuming, like, we see bracket and we think March Madness or in those, like, neutral site games. Yep. No. These are games being played on campuses. Like, that.
I love that. That is the best part of this. That is the best part of this.
Absolutely. Bracket. It is like it's a factor that you can't really, we don't know yet. It's an unknown how that's going to impact some of these games.
So looking at this, please just look at the left side compared to the right side. I can't wait to watch these left-sided games. Tennessee, Ohio State, yes. Clemson, Texas, yes. I hope Texas wins, and then it's Texas, Arizona State. Would love to watch that. Just because I'm looking for the downfall of the Longhorns, mostly. SMU getting in, good for them. I mean, Penn State and Drew Aller should light them up. But, hey, weirder things have happened. That's the point of this 12-team playoff. But nonetheless, Georgia will play in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. They will face the winner of Indiana, Notre Dame.
Give me your Final Four.
My Final Four.
Give me your Final Four. You don't have to give a champion, but give me your Final Four.
My Final Four is Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, and then give me Arizona State for some chaos.
I will go Oregon, Georgia, Boise State. I am an
Ooh.
Ashton Genty believer over here. He is my
respect.
He is my Heisman winner.
Everyone really is hyping him
And
up.
I will take the Texas Longhorns once again. I think they're going to be in the Final Four.
Okay, so that is what we got. Those games cooking. It should be fun. Best time of year, quite frank. The semifinal games will be on January 9th and 10th, and that will be the Orange Bowl in Miami and the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. All right. Well, that was a little positive and somber. I think it just gets a little bit more somber where the Falcons are concerned. We were on here. You know where I stand, where the quarterback situation is. I think even though
You still ride? You still?
I am.
You still?
I am.
You're gonna ride that one till the wheels fall off?
Because here's my thing. You can't expect Kirk Cousins to come off a 4-interception game and probably not throw at least 1 interception. That's how I see it. It's improvement. And I still think you ride the wheels of this thing until they fall off. I do. I think you can call me crazy. And I am curious. I would love to ask Raheem Morris this year. Because if you go back, they've always been really upfront. I think sometimes people think they're like playing a game, but they always told us they really liked Penix. And I think everyone just kind of took that. We're like, oh, they like Penix. That's it. And then they drafted him. Then they said they were doing the Green Bay Packers model. If they are truly doing that, you do not play Penix at any point this year. I understand it's getting bad, and it looks bad, and he still doesn't have a touchdown pass in, 4 games now?
It's been since Halloween. We had costumes on the last time Kirk Cousins threw a touchdown pass. And I'm with you on the Penix thing. You're almost doing a disservice to him if at this point in his
he is your
career
future.
You're throwing him in and saying, hey, can you save us from the sinking ship here? But I think the bigger story is the Falcons cannot continue to pretend like the Kirk Cousins deal was a good deal. I think there were points in time in which maybe it could have worked out, but at this point in time, you need to start preparing your contingency plan. I'm not even really, Bailey, committed to them winning the division anymore. I know that Tampa's officially taken the first spot in the NFC South back, but I think now it all has to be spun forward about, okay, how do we transition now from the Kirk deal to Penix?
I hear you on that, and here's the path forward. You don't do anything. Because then the offseason comes, and you have every reason to look Kirk Cousins in the eyes and say, hey, we paid you X amount. This was the expectation. You failed that expectation. We're going to give Penix a try. Or you say, training camp is open ground. I truly, I know people are going to spend this a bad way, and they need to win now, and they need to take the division now. But the reality is I'm not concerned. This works out in favor for the Falcons either which way. Either Kirk Cousins gets it together, and you now can get back in the NFC race and get to the top,
Sure.
Or it doesn't. You got ground, you got experience with new head coach, new OC, new quarterback. It also sets you up to have the easy, hard conversation with Kirk of hey, this is what it is, and this is what we're doing now.
It's kind of the bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush, though, because you're assuming that you can get back into this position with Michael Penix, which I believe they can. Mm-hmm. It's just tough to do that when you were already in a position this year with a strong division lead headed into New Orleans where you could have won. You're basically saying, all right.
But that's the thing. You could have won and you didn't. So how much worse can it really get? I mean, to be fair, it could be a lot worse. You could have Desmond Ridder, which, ironically, they're going to play on Monday.
You're on borrowed time as an NFL coach, though. You can't really say, hey, I'm going to sit here and just let this finish out, because 4 more losses and you end the year on an 8-game losing streak, that warms the seat on Raheem Morris.
Disagree.
It doesn't. You don't automatically say Michael Penix is in there and now it's a fresh slate for everybody involved.
No.
Terry Fontenot has now been a part of no playoff runs here in Atlanta.
No, but what you're failing to realize is Arthur Blank is a businessman, and businessmen don't make rash, impulsive decisions. I would assume, think about it this way. They gave Arthur Smith 3 years. They're going to give Raheem at least the same amount.
The way they ended up in this position was a rash, quick decision by drafting Penix or signing Kirk Cousins to the big deal.
I don't think
the
Penix,
math there doesn't add up.
No, that wasn't a rash decision. That's a desperate decision in an NFL where you must have a good quarterback, and they had no quarterbacks. You couldn't keep Taylor Heineke.
I would still argue they don't have a quarterback. because we don't know what Michael Penix is yet. As far as the NFL is concerned, we know what Kirk Cousins is.
Then we're just going around in circles because that's the NFL.
But that's like the bird in the hand versus two in the bush thing that we were talking about earlier. Like, sure, we let Kirk finish out the year and he's not going to be a Falcon anymore. You're still starting over. But you're still ending in a position to where you don't have a quarterback potentially.
I don't. If you want to be negative in that way, sure. But you're a Falcons fan, which I would expect from you. But this is part of the process when you draft a guy. Like, they didn't even give Desmond Ridder the same courtesy that they're giving Penix. And you thought you got a quarterback in Kirk Cousins. It's unfortunate that he really hasn't. Keep in mind, he had a great October. But the inconsistencies, right?
And it's not just Kirk. Raheem Morris spoke about that today, meeting with the media. Like, the last time the Falcons offense had the ball,
really
they had the most penalties in a single game for any team, 12 penalties. And the defense had massive letdowns. No team should score 6 times against you in a National Football League game, and you blame that on the quarterback. Like, Kirk has not played well. The rest of the team has to pick him up. I don't see a way out of this for Atlanta that ends well this year, and we'll see where it turns for 2025.
You know, it's crazy. I say it a lot on this show, but I'll say it again. They say women are emotional. I feel like that's such an emotional response. You have no idea, one, how this season is going to end, how Kirk Cousins is going to end, and then on top of that, you don't know what's going to happen in the offseason, and you don't know what Penix is going to look like. Pump the brakes. Take a breath. Take a load off. Stop jumping to conclusions. Do you jump to conclusions like this when you go on dates? No, you keep an open mind. So why won't you keep an open mind about the Falcons? Because they've hurt you before? Does that stop you from chasing love when you've had your heart broken?
It's based purely off what you've shown me to be. For Raheem Morris, he has not shown me to be a coach that takes teams to the playoff consistently. For Kirk Cousins, he's not a quarterback that has shown to advance beyond the divisional round. For Michael Penix, you haven't shown me anything in the National Football League at all. For Terry Fontenot, your teams have never made the playoffs here in Atlanta.
Okay.
So for me to have to put a lot,
I hear you, but I have
a lot of
something for
faith
you.
in those
then
guys.
Then why do you think they had any right being in the playoffs this year and winning the division?
Well, they were up 6. They had a 3-game lead in the division. They had a 3-game lead in the division.
No. But coming into this season, it was playoffs or bust, all of this. Under that theory, why?
My goal this year, or my hope for this year for Atlanta was to win 9 games.
Which is still possible.
When you win 6 through 8, my goals change. When you start off out the gate, things change. Now I'll come back down to earth, and I'm like, all right, 9 games once again. 9 games feels like a letdown. Whereas coming into the year, 9 games felt like a stepping stone. Now 9 games feels like we're back to square one, basically.
I don't know if I would call square one. I hear you, though. I hear you on this. I don't totally disagree. For me, how I personally like to approach things like this is give me better than what you had last year. In ways, things have been better, and in ways, things have been the same.
Where have things been better than last year? They have more turnovers from the quarterback position than they did last year.
First of all,
it's like
not everything.
Desmond Ridder was better.
Not everything is tangible. Not everything is tangible. I think this team deals with adversity a lot better. The games where Desmond Ridder had substantial, cruciating turnovers, you could tell the life had been sucked out of this team by week 8. I don't necessarily feel the same. Now, I think it might be different this week. I think you're going to feel a little bit more pressure because they have lost 4 straight. But I think that's different. I think they have a true leader at quarterback, even if he isn't playing well. And I do think Raheem Morris has injected a different personality in this team. I also think they're utilizing Bijan Robinson a lot more.
Okay. That's the first one that you said that I've agreed
I think they could use Tyler Algier a little more.
There we go. Now we're talking. The defense is worse. You went out and got Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons, and arguably both of those moves missed.
The pressure hasn't been there. Jesse Bates has been just as good for the most part. He's been a little silent the last couple of games, but
the defense is worse. You gave up 6 touchdowns on the road to Sam Darnold. And another reason why we can't finish this out is because it's an incomplete grade. I mean, they still have 4 more games left.
Yep.
If they win 1 of the last 4, there's no way that you can spin this as a positive. And I thought going into this year, Bailey, we could wrap with this. I thought that there was a path to contention for Atlanta.
Like for a Super Bowl?
Just contention. Not winning a Super Bowl, just contending for a Super Bowl. I don't think that they...
Delusional.
Really?
I think so.
Contention meaning winning your
To
division?
be fair, I think I had them winning like what 11-5
Okay.
or whatever it was.
I said 9.
And that was
You had them at
delusional.
11.
But I always thought they would probably lose in the first round of the playoffs if they made it.
That's a path. If you're in the
So
dance,
that's what we're deeming like contention?
if you won your division, you're contending for a title.
Okay. I don't totally agree, but some people, if you're in the NFC South, which is just like the boo-boo division of the NFL.
It's the slums, yeah.
It's doo-doo. I just don't know what else to call it. It's garbage. It's bad. It's
How
who
many games
stinks the least.
They have 5 games left, 4 games left.
So they have Giants, Washington,
Raiders,
Panthers. Are we missing one?
I think that they had 6 games left coming out of the bye, and they've lost 2.
I think you have to win that Commanders game, which is going to be.
You got to win this week. If Desmond Ridder lights you up, that is the end. That is the end.
I won't forgive the Falcons if they let Desmond
the
Ridder
end.
light them up.
That will be my 13th reason.
I hope the Falcons defense forces like 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions because that would be on par for what he did last year. Okay, let's switch to the Celebration Bowl preview. We're not hitting any of the sound this time because
That's
we're
fine.
yappers today.
I'm excited for the Celebration Bowl.
Let's talk about it.
Kicks off bowl season here in Atlanta. Mercedes-Benz stays busy consistently, and that will
It does.
continue Saturday at noon between Jackson State, who are champions of the SWAC, versus
MEAC.
South Carolina State, champions of the MEAC. It's an HBCU championship game here, and I just think that it's cool that we're giving more love to HBCU sports. These games should be broadcast more. I love that College Game Day also is now doing more of a
ESPN's
HBCU
been
spotlight.
picking them up, like the HBCU games when they're here.
It's really important. And it's cool to have these things celebrated. I know when Dion left Jackson State, there was a big talk about HBCU sports and where do we go from here and how do we keep the attention there. Having this game kicking off bowl season, having it in the Benz, the same place that you're going to have the national championship game for big-time college football, as some people think. I think that's really cool. I don't have as much of an in-depth game breakdown, but we'll be there. We'll be there on Saturday.
We will be there. We will cover it and have your coverage on Atlanta News First, so make sure to tune in. All right, we got about 3 minutes. What is on your mind tonight, sir?
I don't have one. You go first.
I don't have one. No.
No, mine was going to be
No.
music related. So
Oh, I'll listen. I like music.
You like music?
I do. Go
have
for it.
Have you heard of this guy named Quavo before? Quavo?
Georgia Waves.
Quavo. Yes, I'm out on that song. Fully out on that song.
So
And I don't know why Quavo has decided to start making College Game Day and NBA 2K music exclusively after his beef with Chris Brown, but this like Luke Bryan, and then he has like a what's that song with
Lana Del Rey.
Oh, that one too. Oh,
No.
he's got so many.
No,
of
wait.
them.
I want to go back to Georgia Waves though. I
It's
don't mind
Lenny
the
Kravitz.
song.
Is it Lenny
No,
Kravitz?
okay. You will not slander Lenny Kravitz on this program. I will shove you off that box so quick.
The problem is not Lenny
Do
Kravitz.
not.
The problem is Quavo. It's like, bro, we get it. You want to do the whole Madden lane, like get one of those off for the residuals and whatever, cool. But like, come on, dog. Georgia Ways.
I don't mind Georgia Ways. And then Luke Bryant popped up in the video, and I was like, Luke Bryant, can I say this on here? I
Yeah,
don't know how much
fire
I'm
it
gonna get
off.
crucified.
He's watching. He's watching.
He's not even real country music.
Ooh, now we're potting. Now we're potting.
I don't think he's real country music. Like, give me Flatland Calvary, give me Shania Twain, Garth Brooks, Toby Keith. That is real country. Like, can we get back to 90s country? You don't know anything about country. It's not your
I do. No, I've been to a couple country shows. Jason Aldean, Florida
Jason
Georgia
Aldean.
Line.
That's
Well, this
not
was Jason
country.
Aldean before the whole try this in a small town controversy that I don't side with. But Darius Rucker, I'm tapped into country. I've been to my first concert ever was actually a country show. Cole Swindell.
Interesting.
I know.
Was it a date?
No, it was not. Yo, no, it was not a date.
Something I want to talk about ever so briefly. I want to watch the Simpsons
Oh, that'll be
football
fun.
game tonight.
That'll be exciting.
I do enjoy when they do the Nickelodeon ones. And this one's just, I don't know. I would like to be made into a Simpson.
We can arrange that.
No, actually, this is what's really on my mind. I have like 40 seconds. The amount of times I was told this weekend that my lookalike is Charlie XCX.
That's a compliment.
Is it?
Huge.
I'll take it. We're all okay.
Yeah, huge.
So
That's a
I
huge
didn't really
compliment.
know her. I knew Brat Summer, and I was on board with that. But I
I'm
went and
so
watched some of her
lost.
videos. She is like edgy.
Very.
I guess I'm edgy. That's what's on my mind. Okay. Any
Mean Girls
lookalikes?
only.
I'm Mean Girls only. Is that a thing?
No, I don't have any lookalikes.
Sad. All right. Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Tonight. Thanks for watching. Join us throughout the week for the rest
Kirk,
of your
throw a
headlines.
touchdown.